Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Talk Show. This podcast is dedicated to a growth mindset. You see, I believe that you know something that I don't know, and I also believe that I know something that you don't know. And the only way for each of us to both rise in our knowings is for us to sit in a room and share all the things. For those of you that are new to this show and love inspirational content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question. What do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
I always find myself doing a little bit of jig during that. For those of you that are already jumping on live, thank you so much for being here. For those of you watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're watching us at so we can send you some love. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are super excited because we're adding another one to the list today. If you are watching us live, if you could do us a favor, and share this video wherever you're watching us at so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we're about to share today. Her Talk Show is here to inspire and have you thinking outside the box in no time. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Jodi Brandstetter. Jodi believes everyone can be an influencer in their industry through being curious. She helps curious people become authors and gain authority in their industry. She is an Amazon bestselling author and publisher with over 20 years of business experience. Super excited to sit down with this lady. Thank you for being here.
Sabrina, thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And I was dancing too during the intro.
I'm so appreciative. You know, I love women like yourself who understand the importance of coming onto platforms and sharing information with our listeners. You know, there is so much gray area in our world sometimes, and to be able to sit down with someone like yourself who's, you know, has a specialty in the area that we're going to be talking about today, just super, super excited about it. Because I think a lot of times people don't realize the influence that they can have within their industry. And so many people are playing small nowadays and just not recognizing how powerful their voice is, how powerful their story is.
Absolutely. Each and every one of us has our own story. We have our own history, or herstory, if we want to go that route. And that can be power, but it also can connect us to each other. But yeah, assumptions usually hurt us 100% more than what they should. And I do believe they assume, where it makes an ass out of you and me.
Mm-hmm.
So making the assumption that our voice doesn't matter is ridiculous. Each and every one of us matter. And it's really up to us how we want to raise our voice and what we want to talk about.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit on this word connect that you said. And I also want to do a little just asterisk right here, because we're not saying that every single person has to tell their story or else, right? But we're saying that there are certain people that are called to, there are certain people that have that within them. I very much believe, I don't know how you feel, Jodi, but I believe that if you have a spark within you that's telling you that you're supposed to share your story or you're supposed to write a book, that you are supposed to follow that journey. Not everybody has that spark, just like not everybody has a spark to build a car or to be a baker or to own a dog, right? But some of us have a spark within us to do things, and that's who we're talking about talking to today, is those that have that little tiny itty bitty light inside of them that wants to share, that wants their voice, that wants to write a book or has thought about writing a book. That's who we're really honing in on today. So connect. How does it help us connect? What's your view on that?
Connection to me is understanding each other, knowing kind of more about us. So by raising your voice, or let's just say I'm able to connect with more people by raising my voice, by telling my story. I'm able to connect them with opportunities that could, benefit them. I can connect them to resources. So, putting your voice out there creates that connection that can be in so many different things. But I think what you talk about equates to what type of connections you'll get, right? So just like you were talking about, not everyone has that spark in them. But if you do have that spark, let's make sure we highlight and raise that spark up in a way that helps you and serves the audience you want to talk to.
Yeah, helps and serves. I think that that's the key point. And individuals don't necessarily recognize how powerful their story is.
Yes, they don't recognize that. And they also assume, I'm going to put assume in here a lot now that we talked about it. They assume that someone else has already said it. And that's
yes. Yes. And even I think that sometimes.
Me too. Absolutely. I think that all the time. Like, why should I be the one telling people this? But what we have noticed, we do a lot of collective books where we have like multiple authors talk about the same theme. We have never had two authors write the same chapter.
Yeah.
And we have over 100 authors that we have served.
Wow.
So if you think about that, we're writing a book for marketing and not one chapter was the same as another. So we 100% have a different perspective, even if we're in the same industry with others. We have a different life experience that we're able to provide and share within that conversation or within that book.
Yeah, definitely. And even thinking of my own story, this podcast originated from my own story. Narcissistic abuse was the story, the topic that I was talking about quite a bit. And I remember when I first started to bring guests on, there was a thought within me that was like, I've already told all the narcissistic stuff that you could possibly tell. Like, what else could we possibly talk about? And each guest had a totally different viewpoint and a totally different story, ranging in levels of abuse and their thoughts on the abuse and their projection of how they viewed it, and then where they are now as far as their healing process in that abuse.
Yeah, I don't think there's this, everyone doesn't have the same narcissist person in their life. So, just like not everyone has the same, mother. Everyone brings something so unique to themselves that when we talk about it, there's going to be something that resonates, but also something that's going to be intriguing or something that we've never heard about before. And I love how you start this, the talk show about, hearing something that you didn't already know, because every time you have someone on here, I guarantee someone gets some aha moment, and it's not the same for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So the title of this episode, speaking of, is Be an Influencer in Your Industry. I'd love for you to first talk about this word influencer, because this seems to be a little bit, for the older folks listening, kind of like, this is for the 25-year-olds, Jodi.
Yeah, I feel like the social influencer has ruined the name influencer in so many different ways. And I guess, some people, I guess you could say thought leader, expert. I like influencer because we're trying to influence our industry. We're trying to make changes in our industry. We're trying to push our industry into a new direction, maybe evolve with the future of work. And so that's where I see me as an influencer, is that I am, really taking my voice and sharing my opinion on where my industry should be going. And so that is, kind of what I would define an influencer that we work with. It could be a very small industry, very niche, to a very large industry, depending on what you are trying to accomplish and where you serve. So I like influencer. I enjoy that name. I am proud when people call me an influencer. I don't, I'm definitely not hashtagging and, getting affiliate programs and getting all this money from, trying on lipstick. But what I'm doing is I'm helping my industry grow. And that's exactly, what I was meant to do on this planet.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as far as, when you're speaking of an individual being able to be an influencer in their industry, I'm assuming this is more career bound. Actually, it doesn't even have to be, right? You could be a mother in an industry, the motherhood industry. But what does this mean? How does somebody step into the role of an influencer in their industry? What should somebody be doing? What are maybe a couple of steps?
Absolutely. So I think one, you have to feel really confident in your industry. So make sure that you understand your industry, you have experience or education, and it doesn't have to be so many years, but it has to be like you really feel like you understand what your industry does and where your industry needs to move forward. You also have to have an opinion and you have to be willing to voice that opinion. And sometimes that's not always going to be what others want to hear. But if you really are passionate about your industry moving forward and you want to influence, you have to put that out there. And then you have to back up that opinion and either, have the research or have done it before or the experience to say, hey, this is going to work and here's why. And then you have to be willing to put your face, your voice within that opinion and that industry. So being willing to come to shows like this and talk about it, to writing a book, to doing blogs or social media or conferences. But you have to be willing to put yourself out there if you want to influence. So you can't just be behind a computer and typing. You have to show your voice. You have to show your face, your voice, and be willing to be in the limelight.
Yeah. And why is this so important?
Nothing changes if we keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if we continue to work how we're working, we're never going to change. We're in this world today that is evolving very quickly in a lot of different industries. And if people aren't willing to try new things out or willing to look at a new process or be willing to experience, a different way of doing, we're never going to do better. And as humans, that's what we do. We are 100% focused on excelling and doing better and to grow. That's what keeps our mind fresh. That's what keeps us active. That's what keeps us engaged. So, it is really important to have influencers out there who are willing to raise their hand or do something new so that the whole industry can actually, move forward and thrive.
Yeah, I agree. This is kind of, and this might be a little bit off topic, but I think it's important to cover. I have been, I guess, confronted by individuals at some point in my life over the course of maybe the last 3 to 4 years who I can see they are trying to make a difference. I can see that they are trying to get their voice heard. I can see that they are putting in effort to share a message. And the message is not reverberating the world as they thought it would. And then there is this sense of defeat. What's your thought on that?
So I'm a huge fan of design thinking, which is a methodology that IT and companies use to create, processes, procedures, experiences that help not only the business but also work for humans. So a lot of what design thinking does is that it takes an idea and checks to see, is this viable? Is this feasible? Do people, want to actually take this idea and run with it, right? And so that's kind of what they just did. They had an idea. They had this is where things should go, and it didn't go where they thought. That's not failure. That's learning. So to me, I would say, what did you learn? Did you learn that what you thought should happen didn't? Why? Take the time to really digest what just happened, and you might actually have a new aha moment. Something might come out of it that works even better. But at the same time, if it's something where they're focused on themselves and focused on putting themselves first, that's the other thing you have to look at. Were you trying to serve your audience? What you were providing, did it work for them? Did you ask your audience or your customers or your clients or whoever what they were looking for from you? So it's a learning experience, and we're all going to I fail every day. Every day I fail. Before this wonderful podcast, I was trying to get something out of my pantry, and you know what happened? The pancake mix fell. Do you know what happens when pancake mix falls onto a hardwood floor and it's open? It goes everywhere. So I was literally dust. I had pancake all over me. And I had to clean myself up and show up today. Sabrina, I had to take care of business. I texted my husband some foul language and said, what the heck? Why can't we close the pancake mixture so I don't get stuck with pancake all over me? But it happened, and I moved forward, and I learned I'm not putting pancake mix on the top of our pantry anymore. So I could have taken that as a failure and that life was over. I could have called you, Sabrina, and said, I'm just, dusty. I can't make it on your show. I'm miserable. I'm freaking out. Or I just fix what I did and move forward. And that's what I did.
I love it.
And that really did happen, people. I really, I was trying to get chips. This is why you shouldn't eat chips.
Oh, I love that. Well, now I don't feel so bad for eating the 3 Milano cookies this morning.
No, you should not. I'm now jealous. I wish I would have gotten pancake all over me so I could have cookies. That would have felt better.
There you go. That's fantastic. And I totally agree with that, that take on that. Sometimes there's a pivot that's necessary, in our journey. And the things that you learned while creating the platform for whatever that was that you were speaking about will help you in the next endeavor that you're in.
Absolutely. And we have to continue to evolve. If, when I look at my, my industry of choice, which is human resources recruiting, that's where I lived for 20 plus years of my life. When I started, we were getting resumes from fax, from email, mail. If we didn't pivot or evolve to using the like the internet and creating ways for people to submit there, we have to be able to keep moving forward. And it feels like a failure. And I think you have to sit with that, and you have to experience those emotions. You sometimes have to grieve that it didn't work out, but it's okay. We can keep moving forward. You can just put one more, go forward and make that new idea, or, learn from what you did and figure out what that next move is.
Absolutely. As far as the shifts that a person needs to make, or a person will see as they are stepping into this role of influencer, in this case, using being an author or writing a book as one of the means to be able to do that. What are some shifts that someone can expect as far as their personal development and growth in that arena?
It's amazing how much you can learn about yourself through the writing journey. And you can also learn about your business if you're an entrepreneur through the writing journey. So, the things that you want to, do within, once you say yes, like I want to write a book, and that's a big yes. So anyone who does that, know that's amazing. You should celebrate just that. Have a party because you said you're going to write a book, and then you get to do the work, right? And so there's going to be a lot of imposter syndrome that's going to potentially come through. You're going to have uncertainty. There's going to be a lot of emotions through that writing journey. I've been through it. I know that there's a lot, but what you're going to get is you're going to have that ability to structure your intellectual property in a way that it forms into a book. And so that's going to help the flow. It's going to help you as a person speaking feel more confident in what you're speaking about. And so there's a lot of just, understanding your conversation that you want to have through the book and being able to use that conversation in other ways. Then you really can start to hone in on like your brand, how you want to show up in that book. And all that's through the writing journey. And if you keep focus on the audience, your voice is to them, then at the end, that book becomes your business card and you're able to share it and people know who you are, what you believe in, and how you do what you do. And it becomes this marketing tool that can really help boost you and your business or or help your industry or whatever you're trying to do, right? It's going to elevate you. And then all of a sudden that credibility, that visibility is there. And that's where you start to gain more influence capabilities once that book is out. But it's a journey. It is a ride. It's a roller coaster. There's so many emotions, so much that happens through it, but you learn so much about yourself. And the one thing you learn is you have resiliency and you have tenacity, because if you literally say, I'm going to write a book, and then you write a book and it's published, that is a huge, huge success.
Yeah. I like this thing that you just said, a book can become a business card. And that's a nice shift for me, because I was going to ask, why a book? So that's great. So a business card, it becomes your business card. Phenomenal. Yes. What else?
It builds your credibility. Okay. It's amazing how people see you differently after you publish a book.
Yeah.
When I published my first book in 2020, after I published it, after it became an Amazon bestseller, guess what? I was the same person before I hit publish. I was the same person.
Yeah.
What happened was I was able to successfully launch a book and highlight myself in a way that people wanted to buy that book to help me become a bestseller. And then I had that social credibility, right? Like people saw that, oh, Jodi's an author now. So it's one thing to have this intellectual property up here.
Yeah.
Because then all it is in your head and you speak it. But once you put it on paper and you put it in this little box called a book, it has a different feel to it. It feels more professional. It feels like it's your child who you're bringing into the world, and now that gets to speak for you, right? It's your voice in a book that I got to be on a podcast and I met someone who wanted to work with me that was in Brazil. I don't speak Portuguese. That was a problem. We didn't get to work together, but wonderful, amazing story that my book got my name to people in Brazil and they wanted to talk to me. And it was the book that did that. And you know who did that book? I did. That's my book, my voice. So when I market myself, I market my book, when I'm marketing me, 100% me, because that's me. That's my blood, sweat, and tears in that book. And so people want to talk to me because I gifted them this knowledge in a book that they want more. That's why it's like a calling card. It's like, oh, maybe I should talk to Jodi because I want to learn this. And she just wrote a book about it and I have more questions. Or
Yeah.
I'm going to go listen to Jodi at this conference because I read her book and I want to hear her now. So I read Jodi, I hear Jodi, and then I want to work with Jodi. And that's like the ultimate victory of a book, is getting new clients, new people that you can serve and provide your knowledge and expertise to.
Absolutely beautiful. Did you say that you also do anthologies?
We do. Yeah. So we help with, we call them collective, but they're anthologies. We focus on business themes. So we traditionally write for small to mid-size business leaders in all the different areas that they should be really focused on. And then we also did a women in business book series, which was a little bit more storytelling, which was fun. But we help them by giving them the tools, the training to understand how to write a really solid chapter, and then how to market the chapter. And then they collaborate together to then make it hopefully a bestseller, which, knock on wood, all of ours have been Amazon bestsellers.
That's fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about that, because I feel like that could be incredibly powerful, and definitely even something that I've thought about doing within my community, Her Nation. But speaking more to what you're talking about as far as the corporations putting together a collective, first, what would that look like? And then second, how powerful would that be?
So a collective book has a lot of power, and a lot of it has to do with the word we talked about at the very beginning, connect or connection. So to tell you just the basics of what an anthropology collective book looks like, they can be a little different based off the publisher that you work with. But for us, what we do is we put together a group of people. It could be in the same industry. It could be they serve the same audience. It really can vary based off of who they want to be in a book with. And we give them the tools to write their chapter. So a chapter can be usually around 1,500 to 3,500 words. And then we have editors who, enhance the voice. They don't change it. They enhance the voice. And then we package it. We put it into production and publication. And then depending on who is kind of the leader of that. So like Sabrina, if you did this for your group, you would be the leader. And then you would have full access to that book. It would be your copyright. You would work with the royalties. We would just be your publisher and get it out there for you. We can do those within about 12 weeks. We can have a book done. We give the authors about 6 weeks to write. And it takes about 6 weeks for us to edit, format, and get it published and market it. And then we give you all the tools, like how to market it. We give you the graphics. Like, we really are that support group for the whole group of authors. Why someone should be in a collective? One, I always tell people, if you think you want to be an author and you just want to dip your toe in, great way, right? One chapter. We're asking for, not, most, I think an average nonfiction business book's around 30,000 words. So we're asking for like 3,000. So it's much smaller, feels more attainable. And so that is good for an author who's never been an author before. But the relationship amongst the authors is what can be so fantastic. Being able to connect with others, get to know each other. What's your chapter about? Who do you serve? Let's connect the dots between each other. All of a sudden, you have people on your side wanting the book to be successful because they're part of the book with you. But then you can take it to the next level. I'm someone who I love highlighting others more than myself. I'm a people pleaser, been, trying to, find AA for people pleasers. Haven't found that yet. If you find one, let me know. But being that person, I love when I'm in a collective book, I can raise the other people up. I can say, oh my gosh, my client, you need to read Sabrina's chapter, because Sabrina's chapter is really going to help you with what you're trying to solve today, right? So all of a sudden, I'm connecting people, right? I'm helping you out as another author. I'm helping my client out. So all of a sudden I'm like this amazing connector. They're like, Jodi knows all these great people and she's giving me books that tell me who to read. And so they see me as an influencer because I'm influencing who they talk to and all that stuff. But I'm raising up my fellow authors as well. So there's really power when you can highlight someone else versus yourself. And then you get to experience launch together. So, instead of being one person having to find so many people to say yes, there might be 10 of you. And so all of a sudden you're using your network to make it a successful book. So it's an amazing experience. And then you get to meet people from either all over the country, or you get to put your name on a book with someone who you love, and you get to, experience it. We're doing Talent Impact, and I'm one of the authors, and I was able to get like 4 people that I've wanted to write with for years. And I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. I finally get to be a book with them. It just makes me so happy that I get to do that. So, there's all kinds of fun reasons why to do it. But you also want to make sure your chapter is something that you want to talk about, you want to highlight, and it's going to serve you and your audience.
Absolutely. I love that. And you can get that done within 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you can be an author in 3 months.
Fantastic. I'm thinking myself.
It is. I would say my first book when I wrote solo was, it took me probably about 6 months from start to launch. My second book, which is a micro book, so it's less than 100 pages, I was able to do that in 3 months, but that's not normal and that's not common for people to be able to do that. Most people take over a year to write their own book. I've heard people take 3, 5, 10 years to write a book. So this is a way that you can do it in a fast time. It can impact you. It doesn't take as much time, energy, and effort because it's not just you doing it. And you could technically be an author before 2024 if you wanted.
That's beautiful. Good to know. Good for the listeners to know. Hello to those of you watching live, by the way. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us. If you're watching us on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're watching us at so we can send you some love. This has been fantastic. Definitely something that I think so many women would appreciate knowing about. The fact that you can be in a collective, which does notate you as an author, and a great stepping stone into the world of writing that's not so aggressive right off the bat, I think is a really nice, comfortable idea for some of the women watching. So that is awesome. I want to ask, as we are wrapping up here, about your business and I guess your website. Is that your website?
It is. So I&M Author, which is Influence Network Media Author, but it kind of feels like it says I'm an author. That's why we enjoy it so much. The company is Influence Network Media. We're a media company that helps business professionals become authors through collective books as well as through their own book. And we really focus on marketing and making this a successful launch for you and your goals for yourself professionally or for your business.
Beautiful. And where can people find you or your business on social media if they kind of want to check you out?
Absolutely. So my favorite social media is LinkedIn. So you can, find Jodi Brandstetter. I think I'm the only one out there, at least spelled that way. And we are also on LinkedIn as well. So those are the best way to connect with us, either our business page or feel free to connect with me directly. I am an open connector. I just hit my LinkedIn goal for the year. So I have over 15,000 connections, which I'm so proud of. I've been working on that since 2003. So again, it is not simple. It is not fast. Do not think I did that in a day. That was 20 years of work to get to 15,000 connections. But
were you like the first LinkedIn person?
You can actually, and I need to figure it out. There's a way that you can see where you were on LinkedIn, but I was an early adopter. So I've been a recruiter my whole life. It's, you find the ways to recruit people, and LinkedIn is a fantastic way for recruiters to connect with candidates. So I've been using it since, I could. So literally my first kind of real job in the world of recruiting was when I first did my first LinkedIn profile. So yeah.
That is so cool. 2003. I didn't know the internet was alive back then.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
I also was a really early adopter for Twitter, and I hate that. I can't
Wait,
do
is
it.
LinkedIn older than Facebook?
No, well, I would say LinkedIn is older than it. I, as a non-college student, I could get on LinkedIn before I could get into Facebook, because Facebook started as you had to have a college email address to be able to get in. LinkedIn did not. So I think LinkedIn started in, I want to say 2000, 2002-ish, I believe.
Wow, so they're around the same.
Yeah.
So interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember my interns coming and telling me about Facebook, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But they're like, you can't get on it because it's only for college students. And I'm like, thanks for making me feel old at 23. So yeah, so it is. It's been out there for a very long time.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What are your big dreams for your business?
I think our big dream is really helping groups of people raise their voices in that collective type book, to give people like you and other, leaders that ability to raise the voices of the people that they work with. So I think that is, one of our biggest things is really focusing on helping with that. And for me, I'm just going to rule the world, Sabrina. I'm just going to take it all. Take it all.
Yes.
Not really. I'm just going to live in Ohio, and I am my daughter is going to become an author. So at 8 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if an 8-year-old can write a children's book and it's a good one, you can write a book too.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that reminds me that I have a question for you offline. Ooh, okay. Well, awesome. I so appreciate you being here. This was fantastic. I so appreciate you teaching us something that probably so many individuals did not previously know. So thank you for being here, Jodi. For those of you watching live or on the replay, if you resonated with all the goodness that was shared today, make sure to reach out to Jodi over LinkedIn. Her website is also right below her face area at inmauthor.com. It's also in the description below, wherever you're watching us at. Thank you so much for joining us here on Her Talk Show. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and love content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. If you have an amazing story to share and would possibly like to see if you can get onto this podcast, check us out at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others as